5 Live Formula One.
Welcome back to 5 Live Sport. We are in Budapest. Full commentary from here, the Hungaroring of the Hungarian Grand Prix, 2 p.m. on Sunday. The whole of 5 Live Sport will be live from right here. Our big preview show's already on BBC Sounds, the Checkered Flag podcast. Tonight we're bringing you a half-hour special on Lando Norris, the McLaren driver looking to become the third British man this century to win the Formula One World Championship. So we're in the paddock, and right in front of me is McLaren hospitality. So you've got the big orange colours, they would say papaya, in front of us with the big McLaren branding, everything behind the big glass doors where you might see Lando Norris or the World Championship leader, his teammate Oscar Piastri, disappear for a coffee or a bit of breakfast, lunch or dinner. Everything is neon. And as I look around me, we can see some of the other big teams as well. Just down the road from here, about 50 metres, is the Ferrari office. Don't see too many people coming out of Ferrari. There's a big gelato stand out there, though, at the moment, which I think we're probably not supposed to go and pick something up from. Right, so we're going to look back a little to find out what makes Lando Norris tick. We'll get into where he can improve. We'll ask right now, does it feel like he's going to be able to outperform Piastri and win the title? 16 points between them as we head into Hungary. Bear in mind, it's 25 for a single race win. Few reasons this show should hopefully be good. One, we'll hear from his former McLaren teammate Carlos Sainz. Got a great insight on Lando. They're very close. Two, we'll hear from Lando himself, and we'll hear from Andreas Stella, his boss, the team principal. And three, we've got great guests. We're talking McLaren, Sam Bird, McLaren Formula E driver. Hello, how are we?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I have an important question to ask you, which is, because we've got McLaren hospitality here, if you wanted, you could walk in there and get pretty much anything, couldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Why? What do you want?
No, nothing.
What are you looking for?
Well, and this is another good reason for having correspondent Andrew Benson with us. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm really good. I need to ask you an important question, though.
Of course, yeah.
So, yesterday, I accepted a gift from McLaren.
Is it within BBC guidelines, Steve?
Well, that's what I want you to tell me. It was sun cream.
I think that's acceptable.
Oh, thank goodness for that, because I forgot it. Wow. But you would never be caught with anything like that, you know, free caps or anything like that, Andrew?
Definitely not, no. I bring my own hat to protect myself from the sun, Steve.
That's what we like to hear. OK, so it's all about Lando Norris. Right off the top, when was the first time you met him, Sam? When's the first time you heard his name, maybe?
So, Lando, I first met Lando when I was doing GP2 back in 2010. His father wanted to have a meeting with me for me to give his father and the two boys, because both of them were karting at the time, in beginner level karting, the idea of what the ladder would look like on the way up towards GP2 and then Formula One.
Right.
And that's when I first met Lando. Lando was 3 foot tall, tiny little thing. And I signed an autographed card for him that he must still have somewhere at home in Somerset at his parents' house.
Who did you think you were?
Oh, I don't know, but you know, I was back then in 2010. I was a quick GP2 driver. You know, I was a youngster coming up through the ranks, and everything was looking nice and rosy. Now I'm here with you guys.
Hey, come on.
So,
do you remember what you told him?
I said, enjoy yourself, go out there and have fun. And do you know what? It's not the worst advice, to be honest, because I think he does drive better with a smile on his face. He is quite an emotional character, and when he's happy, he's performing brilliantly.
Yeah, the thing is, happy for Norris doesn't just mean in himself. He's got to be happy with the car. We've seen this year that certainly at the beginning of the year, he wasn't getting the feels from the car that he wanted, and that was affecting his form. He's come back into it in the last few races, and that's what makes this championship battle over the remaining 11 races of the season so enticing between him and Oscar Piastri.
When was the first time you heard the name Lando Norris, Andrew?
I don't know about the first time I heard it. I can tell you the first time I met him. It was when he was announced as a McLaren Formula One driver. This would be the middle of 2018. And he also met my two children at the same time, because I was having some childcare issues, and I took them with me to the McLaren factory for the press conference.
Right, okay.
And there's still a photo, and he's grown quite a bit since then, not only in stature, but in terms of metaphorically, but also physically. He's actually taller than he used to be. I can check that against the height of my daughter, who hasn't grown since then.
Right. biggest strength of Lando Norris, Sam?
Speed. He is fast. I mean, he just has that natural raw talent, and he's worked on it as well. He loves being on his home simulator, which has helped him. It's honed his skills. He's done that ever since he was in cadet in karting, had a good rig at home and spent hours and hours and hours on iRacing and R-Factor Pro. It's been a key part of his development. He's worked with great driver coaches like my best friend Duncan Tappy and him were out in Ginettas when he was 12, 13 years old. And then every season when he was doing Formula 3, he was already testing an F2 car. When he was in F2, he was already testing F1 cars. So he was always getting that level above. And he does just have that raw, natural ability that is difficult to match. Not too many people are quicker.
So I'm going to ask you a question now, which on the face of it sounds stupid, Sam. I'd appreciate it if you make me sound more clever than the question comes across. What does a driver coach do?
What does a driver coach do? So it'll go through certain elements of driving with the driver in question and help them find more speed. A bit like how a performance coach would be in football, sports science coach in football. A driver coach will go, right, I think you can brake later here. Let's work on your brake shape into this corner. I'm not happy with your tyre warm-up at this place, or just trying to help improve the driver.
Do you want to do biggest strength, Andrew? Because I feel bad if I just say, and his biggest weakness?
No, I think Sam's absolutely right. He is blisteringly quick. Everybody says that about him, that he's about as fast as anybody out there. What he isn't is as consistent as everybody out there, and that's the battle that he's got this year. His teammate, Oscar Piastri, is incredibly solid. I think probably when everything's perfect for Norris, he's probably a little bit faster than Piastri, but what we're seeing is that Piastri has a very, very high average, and at the moment, his average is 16 points higher in the championship than Norris's is.
I think if there is a weakness of Lando's, I think there might be... Honestly, it's unfair to say two, but maybe one of them, look, Oscar is very, very headstrong, and I think that Lando can continue to work on that side of things to get stronger with regards to being more level-headed all the time, not getting too down when it's gone badly, not getting too elated when it's gone well. I think that's where Oscar's good. But also, we've just mentioned how fast he is. Oscar's happy with a certain speed, and he can match Lando. There's times when Lando is looking to do the lap of the gods and might then have a snap at the last corner or go off track with all four wheels when it was unnecessary. You know, he's 3/10 up the road here in FP2, but then there's times where he's pushing so hard, he's had a couple of near misses already in free practice 2 that he doesn't need to have because he's already very, very fast.
So we're in front of McLaren. We've got the bright red of Ferrari with the famous prancing horse just to our left-hand side. Right down the road, you will find Williams. And we're going to hear from a Williams driver, specifically Carlos Sainz, former teammate of Lando Norris at McLaren. Now, Norris is known as being a really, really open guy. He's very self-critical. Some would say too much so. And Sainz has got some really strong opinions on how Norris is treated when it comes to that open book nature.
The good thing about Lando is what you see on TV is what he is as a human being. I think he's very good at showing himself. That's a great thing that if you're a Lando fan, you appreciate Lando for that. And it's also another easy way to criticize Lando because he will open to the media, to people more than any other driver in the grid. He will be more open and people use that against him. And I sometimes find it a bit ironic and a bit frustrating towards him, that it's like he's probably the only guy being 100% genuine on his feelings, on the way he thinks, but then people are going back at him. And it's almost a bit sad to see from the outside how society works nowadays, that he's given a hard time for opening up when probably the 19 other drivers have similar level of doubts or similar level of self-criticism inside their heads. They just don't explain it out loud because we prefer to keep it to ourselves and not say it to the media. What you see on TV is what you see in real life, and I think that's a pretty good guy to be around.
That is such a good point around openness, because I guess what you're getting at is that everybody wants to do and look, you're really open, by the way, but you want to do an interview and everyone wants to be open and to get interesting things from an interview and just have an interesting conversation. Yeah, that's difficult.
It's difficult. It's a very difficult balance to have, because you don't want to sound like a robot, because then you will be criticized, because you're like the other people. Yeah, we had a good race. We have some things to work on. You say 3-4 topics that you can talk about and move on. And you look, you're a very tough guy. No one can say anything bad about you. You know, you're just a bit boring. Perfect. But then you open up, you try and say something interesting, give the audience and people something a bit different. Yeah, I'm going through a tough moment. Yeah, I don't feel very good with the car and with my driving. I think I've done too many mistakes this race. Oh, you're weak. Oh, he's going through a tough moment. Use it against him. You know, so it's a very tough sport, because first we are extremely exposed to media. And yeah, you can have the approach of being open or the approach of being close. And doesn't matter what you do, you'll be a bit criticized one way or another, and you're just trying to find your way around all those things.
So just finally then on Lando, how confident are you that he is likely to win a world title?
I think if I base my decision on speed and talent, I'm 100% sure he has the speed and talent to win a world championship. Unfortunately or fortunately, depends how you see it, F1 involves a bit of luck, mental resilience, being at home with the car in the right times and getting the things right at the right time. Doesn't really matter. If he doesn't win this year, he will get another chance, and he probably has 10 years, 15 years left in Formula One, and he might have other chances. I think he has the potential, he has the talent, he has the speed. If he gets it this year, great. I'll be happy for him, and if not, you probably know Lando's been going to be around for 10 more years fighting for a world championship, so he might get his chance later.
That was Carlos Sainz. We're here at the Hungarian Grand Prix, full commentary of the race on Sunday, 2 p.m. on 5 Live Sport. We've got Sam Bird, McLaren Formula E driver. We've got our F1 correspondent, Andrew Benson, both with us. I think you two might disagree on this, so I'm just going to let you talk. But I thought it was so interesting what Carlos was saying, Sam, about exposure to media, and specifically his whole point was people want Lando Norris to be open and then criticise him for being too open. How do you win?
Well, Carlos's explanation of that is so correct and so superb. And I look at myself as a racing driver and think, do you know what? That's so true. Like, journalists want us to tell the truth, but then when we do, and we basically hold our hands up and go, guys, that wasn't good enough from me today, I let the team down, or I feel like I wasn't at my best, that's seen as a weakness. I see it as a strength. I don't see it as a weakness. So there's some journalists out there that go, no, not what I like. You know, we want him to be like more closed and a bit more up for it and have a bit more fight or whatever. I think it's quite healthy that Lando's able to go, do you know what, that's on me, or I wasn't happy with my performance. So it shows who he is. He wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit. That doesn't mean it's a negative. It just means that that's how he deals with things.
I don't think it's negative either. I think it's great that he's so open about his weaknesses and flaws and failings as he sees them. What worries me more for him as a competitor is that as he's got to the front of Formula One, it's become apparent that he makes these little mistakes a little bit too often. We saw it last year when he was competing with Max Verstappen, sort of, for the championship. And we've seen it again this year. A number of races where he's not achieved close to his optimum potential. And Formula One is such an intense environment. It's so competitive, and the opposition are so difficult to beat that you have to try to maximise yourself at every possible opportunity. And so take Spa last weekend, for example. When he was leading at the restart, the full start, I should say, under the safety car in wet conditions, it was always going to be difficult to retain the lead at Spa, but it's easier in the wet than it is in the dry. But he didn't get the entry onto the start-finish straight right. He didn't get the first corner right, and that gave Piastri, it was right up his gearbox, basically, as they went down that long straight that leads up to the the chicane at Les Combes where he got passed by Piastri. Had he not made those mistakes, then maybe Piastri would still have passed him, but it would have been a lot harder. And it's not the first example of things where Norris has looked quick and looked like there's a race that's there to win, and he hasn't won it. Canada was another example. Miami was another example. There's been Saudi Arabia where he crashed in qualifying. There's been a lot of points already that he's let go missing from this championship, and Piastri's such a solid competitor, he's going to find it hard to claw those back.
When it comes to that question about exposure to media, Sam, I thought that was really interesting because Formula One and any motorsport, Formula E exactly is the same. Almost every conversation you have is in the public domain during the sporting event. If I think a bit like football, when Erling Haaland gets, subbed off or castigated by Pep Guardiola, you'll see him put his hand in front of his mouth and they'll chat away and you'll have no idea what they're saying. If Lando Norris wants to show some frustration, is feeling a bit desperate during a race, the world hears.
That's true, and we're not allowed to do certain things on the radios as well. So when a footballer gets annoyed at getting tackled or getting shoulder barged or being brought down in the penalty area, you've seen the language that's used. We can't do that, even though I would say that we are in a sport that is adrenaline-wise far higher. I mean, it is up there. We are risking ourselves and going at 200 mile an hour. So you can imagine sometimes in our head some of the language that could go on, yet we're not allowed to use it. Everything that we say, it does seem like could get put into a headline, and we have to be measured. But there's a way of doing it that you can get your personality across and still say the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I think, as people will have heard, if you've heard our interview with Carlos Sainz from the Checkered Flag podcast, which you can listen to right now on BBC Sounds, which is a big sprawling interview about the influence of his father, World Rally Champion Carlos Sr., about the influence of Tadej Pogacar, who's just won the Tour de France. You will know we have these big sprawling interviews all the time where people are able to really give of themselves and give us a big picture, and Carlos Sainz was great at that. It's time we heard from Lando Norris. So I have been speaking to him. Does sound a little bit like a man ready for a rest. Luckily he's about to get one because F1 goes on its summer break after the Hungarian Grand Prix.
You need a break. It's a long season, and definitely when you're fighting for the top and for a championship, it's a lot more stressful and takes a lot more out of you. So I feel like I need more of a break this year than what I have done in previous years. But at the same time, I still just want to go and live my life outside of Formula One. I could go and see my friends and my family and go play golf and go have a good time. So the summer break is there, but the priority is still making sure I come back and I'll do my training and prepare in the best way possible to return.
I've just been with Carlos Sainz over at Williams, and he had some lovely things to say about you, not surprisingly. One of the things he said was, I thought it was actually really powerful. He said that you're the most open driver on the grid, but that in the modern world, sometimes people can almost use that against you, like you're really honest, and then people say, oh, now you're too honest.
Yeah.
So how important is it to you to be this open book that you are?
That's tricky. I don't know if it's like about importance. It's not like I'm trying to be like this because I think it's important. I'm just being myself, and I'd rather be myself than try to be something I'm not. I'd rather do what I enjoy in my life and feel like I've just done what I feel like I should have done in my life than try pretend I'm someone else or try pretend like I'm the racing driver that everyone thinks you need to be or should be, or a lot of people like to kind of set these stereotypes, but and some things are probably right and along better lines. For me, I just want to enjoy my time here. I work hard, I do everything I can to win races and try to be the best. But that's it. Other than that, I'm here to enjoy my life, share it with others, and try to stand on the top step. And that's as simple as I try and keep it.
You can hear him there, Andrew, saying, true, when I put to him what Carlos Sainz was saying around the idea of the more open you are, the more criticism you get. And Sam will be able to give us a great insight here as well. But from your time interviewing him too, he doesn't necessarily sound like someone who is finding all of that water off a duck's back?
I think he just likes to tell people how he feels, and it's just the way he is, and he's unapologetic about it, and I find that really refreshing about him. It's very different from the usual racing driver mentality, you know. So take Michael Schumacher, for example. I think I probably watched 98% of Michael Schumacher's, or probably reported on more than 90% of Michael Schumacher's races. I don't think I ever heard him admit fault once in his entire career.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. And yet, which is just completely the wrong way to be, right? Most Formula 1 drivers aren't like that, but there is a bit of a thing with racing drivers, Sam, isn't there, where they sort of, you know, they want to find an excuse for something that goes wrong. Norris doesn't do that at all. And actually, he's found the perfect environment at McLaren for him, because McLaren's a very inclusive environment. The team bosses, Zach Brown and Andrea Stella, they've managed to create a feeling within the team where everybody relies on each other, everyone feels supported, and everybody feels like they can reveal their weaknesses if they need to for the greater good of moving forward with development. And it's really interesting to see how effective that's been as a sort of team ethic over the last couple of years.
We've got to hear from another interview, though, and it is our last one of this special Lando Norris show. It's with his boss, the McLaren team principal, Andrea Stella. And this is exactly where we kind of went with this conversation, because Andrew mentioned earlier the idea of mistakes. So I spoke to him about mistakes and also what Lando Norris needs from Stella to be the best version of himself.
He's a naturally gifted driver, so he is already in condition to be very fast. He has a great racecraft, but definitely, just to take an example, for instance, this year in the MCL 39, which is a fast car, some of the developments we had made over the winter didn't give Lando the natural input that he wanted from the car, so we needed to work together with him, especially on the front axle, front suspension, to give him a better cueing, better understanding of what's happening on the front tires. We deliver some upgrades for that, and now Lando is he drives in a more natural way. This is just an example of how you interact with a driver to extract the best of himself, and I'm really pleased to see Lando doing so well now.
What is your approach to Lando when he makes mistakes? And he's such an open book. He always tells everybody when he's made a mistake. Do you take a kind of a pastoral view, sort of an arm around the shoulder? Do you have a list? I mean, how do you handle it?
Well, first of all, the making mistakes, I think, is across the board. Sometimes Lando sort of acts in a self-critical way, and he makes it slightly more noticeable that all other drivers that make mistakes and may say, oh, it was the team's responsibility, it was the team that got the strategy wrong, or the car wasn't well set up. Lando tends to look at himself, which is something that we do appreciate very much in terms of the honesty that he deploys in his behavior. At the same time, self-criticism is an opportunity to actually do better if you approach it in a functional way. And that's what we do together, thanks to the good conversation, thanks to looking at what we can improve together. I made an example before, and the dialogue, the conversations are, first of all, very enjoyable. From my side, I'm a really lucky team principal that Lando and Oscar are the drivers of McLaren Formula 1 team, because I'm really enjoying this fascinating journey that we are going through together with Lando and Oscar.
Okay, Andrea Stella there. Right, we've got a couple more minutes just before we wrap up, guys. I thought, Sam, that was really interesting about Stella saying they love how honest Lando is. He doesn't just immediately go, oh, the car. He talks about himself. How important is it to be popular in that way? You know, there's a whole team of people. You want them rooting for you.
Yeah, it's extremely important. Within a team of 1,000 people, you want them, you want them to work as hard as possible to get your car as fast as possible. But Andrea Stella is a wonderful leader of men. He's a deep thinker. He's a great listener. I mean, you can go and have a conversation with him, and he might not know who you are very well, but he will intently listen to what you've got to say and give you the best answer that he can. And I think he's the perfect person to lead McLaren through the next, through the next decade if he wanted to. He's that good. It's a great employment by Zak Brown.
So on that note then, Andrew, we've got this long stretch in front of us with all of these huge buildings, bigger than most people's houses, where all of the different F1 teams live for 72 hours. And in each one of them, whether on the left in the hospitality area or on the right in the team offices, has a team principal. If you could go up and down this paddock and cherry pick one team principal to be the best person for Lando Norris to work with, would it be Andrea Stella?
It would. I thought you were going to ask me something I couldn't answer. I was going to upset all these people that I know personally, obviously. I think, Norris is a particular kind of character. He's emotionally open, and he's benefited greatly from the support that McLaren have shown him. So one great example of that is something quite technical, which I won't get technical on, but he wasn't feeling the front of the car in the way that he needed to at the first part of this season, and that's why he was making the mistakes. He was trying to push to the limit and wasn't able to anticipate what the car was going to do, and racing driving is all about anticipation. It's not really about reacting. Obviously there's some reacting, but it's about trusting how the car is going to behave when you're pushing to the limit. They understood the fact that the car wasn't giving him the cues, as Stella put it. So they changed something in the front suspension specifically to address that for him. Piastri isn't even using it. So they've got two cars. It doesn't actually affect the overall theoretical optimum performance of the car. But what it does do is it allows Norris to access more of the theoretical performance of the car himself, whereas Piastri's happy doing that with the way the car was before. And that's a very rare thing to happen in a motorsport team in any category. I'm not aware of it ever happening in Formula 1 before. The cars tend to be the same specification. And I think that speaks a lot to the way Stella's running the team and trying to get the best out of everybody, particularly the two drivers, of course.
Right, last question for both of you. I've saved the most difficult till last. Is Lando Norris a this year world champion, a one-day world champion, or an I'm not sure yet whether he can be world champion?
I absolutely believe Lando Norris is world championship material, and that one day he will win it, but I can't answer whether he can win it this year, because he is up against Oscar Piastri, who is formidable this year and seems like he is simply not making mistakes.
I agree with Sam and with what Carlos Sainz said earlier, actually, that absolutely he's got the ability to be world champion. He could well be world champion this year, but it's an incredibly difficult task. You can't say beyond that, because you don't know the vagaries of Formula 1. Are you ever going to get a competitive car again? What situation are you going to be in, etc., etc. But he's probably way better than some people who've already been world champion. And he's more than good enough to become a world champion. But it's a tough task that he's got ahead of him against a really, really difficult teammate. So I can't say whether it's going to be this year or not.
Great stuff, you two. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Sam Bird, Andrew Benson with us here in Hungary. We'll be popping up on tomorrow's 5 Live Sport, but the whole show on Sunday comes live from the Hungarian Grand Prix, full commentary at 2 o'clock. There's also the Checkered Flag podcast. Our big preview is already out on BBC Sounds, and there's much more coming your way across the weekend too. Thank you for joining us here in Budapest.